Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. We will just wait 2 minutes for people to join. We are expecting a bit more than 400 people connected today. So we just leave time for everyone to connect and then start the webinar. Thank you. Okay, it seems that we have more and more people connected. Welcome, everyone. Feel free to directly test the chats also to write something to tell us from where are you. Try to have this community talking to each other. We will start with Jérôme in 30 seconds. Hello, everyone. Hello, Ivan. Hello, Bjorn. Alberto. Good. Italy, France, we have everywhere. It's perfect. Okay, let's go. So I was telling it at the beginning. Hello, guys. Hello, all. We are very pleased to welcome you to this webinar with Jérôme. We are expecting a bit more than 400 people connected to this webinar, so that's huge. That's a great success for us, an increasing success. My name is Thomas. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Upply, and I'm very pleased to be here today with Jérôme de Ricqlès, who is our shipping expert at Upply. Welcome, Jérôme.
Thank you, Thomas. Hi to everyone. Great pleasure to be with you again for this now traditional mid-year exercise together.
Exactly. The agenda of today is the following. So we will start by a very short introduction of Upply for the one who don't know who we are yet. And then we'll go directly we'll deep dive in the key topic of this webinar. Before starting the webinar, just some things. So all of you will receive at the end of the webinar all the materials that you will see here. You will have everything, the slides, the documents also that we are producing, the white paper, also the replay of the webinar that you can share with your colleagues if you want. Additional things, use the chats. I see that a lot of you are doing it, so it's good, it's perfect. Use it also to ask questions directly, to interact with us. This is a live webinar. This is the strong part of a live webinar, to have these interactions. Jérôme was a bit hard to hear. Thank you for looking into this. If maybe you can speak a bit louder, Jérôme, or be closer to the microphone. It seems that's perfect. We will
no
try.
Problem. Maybe it's better like that.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, on my side, at least, it's working well. Thank you, Thomas, for the thumb ups. Thank you, Thomas, for these comments. Okay, let's start with the Upply presentation. So what we do at Upply is quite simple. We are a French-based company working mainly in the technology data field with a very strong expertise in supply chain. We are working only with people in the transportation industry, transportation sector. We are covering all the different industry with clients in different sectors, from automobile to retail to technology also. I mean, it's very wide sectors. What we do is basically using all the data, the various type of data that are produced by a supply chain, to have it in a same and unique format, and to create services to bring value to our user with this data. And one of the tool that we have for that is the ocean freight applications, all the data that we collect from our users to bring insights on real transactions that happen on the market over the past weeks, months, and quarters. And this is really this data that we will use today. The public FAK rates that are available, but also real transactions that happen at a specific price for specific transportation. What's something new also that we have? I think it's connection for some for 1 second or two. I will just reboot it. Something new that we have just launched also for a bit more than 4 months now, and that is working very well with our clients, is a new way to interact with data and with freight intelligence. This is something that I guess many of you are using today already. Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini, or Mistral, all these AI tools. What we do here is we use the best tools available and we train it to be the most the biggest or the experts that we have, the most good experts that we have in supply chain, in transportation. So here, the idea really is to use an AI agent to bring all the knowledge that is available on the academic sector regarding supply chain, transportation, logistics, to connect it with all the data that we have internally within Upply, data that are available only to our to our customers. And so you have a way like that to have an intelligent interaction with the data that we have at Upply, with the public data that we have also, and all the knowledge of this sector. Very easy to use, very friendly, free access at the beginning to test some requests. So feel free to have a look at it. Okay, let's dive in right now with you, Jérôme.
Yeah.
No sound here, so you're telling me that you. Okay, some echo from Jérôme. Okay, I think this will be handled with when we will speak with Jérôme directly. But I see also no sound here. It seems that it's working. Samuel, you're saying also same here, no sound. Can you just someone confirm me that sound is okay? Okay, so for some people the sound is okay, for the other one is not. Okay, so if it's all good, I'll let you guys, the one that don't have sounds, to try to figure out why exactly on your side. Thank you to all of them, to all the others, to tell me that everything is going well. What we did, sorry, with Jérôme and with the Upply experts at the beginning of the year, this is an habit now that we have. We look at 2 to 3 scenarios for the ocean shipping, the container shipping sector. We try to analyze these scenarios and give them for the year to come. The things that we will do right now is to look at these scenarios, to look at what happened directly on the market, and to adapt it, and to forecast also, or to give the updated scenarios for the semester to come, so for the end of 2026. Let me just recap what were the scenarios in January and try to see where we are right now with you, Jérôme, and the data that we have at Upply. The first one was that the shipping companies would refuse to choose between the Suez Canal and the Cape of Good Hope. If I'm not mistaken, Jérôme, this is still the case today.
This is still the case, and you are right, Thomas. When these scenarios were written late December, early January, and at that time, we have to remember that we had strong expectations for a massive comeback of the carriers through the Suez Canal after the Golden Week, and after the Happy New Year, sorry. And it didn't happen. Then it was postponed by most analysts to the Easter season. But in between, of course, 28th of February changed everything. Plus the fact that in the meantime, even if we had the feeling there were no attacks from the Houthis at the Bab el-Mandab for nearly 10 months in a row now, so it is nearly back to normal in this area. But in the meantime, we have a very strong regain of piracy in the Gulf of Aden and nearby Somalia. So the combination of the Hormuz Strait closed plus heavy risk in the Gulf of Aden and still the Houthi threat, put massively the consensus in favor of the Cape route on a more longer perspective. And it is definitely what happened during the first half. At the end of the day, it was not even a question to get through the Red Sea a 24,000 TEUs vessel. People have to remind that the biggest vessels, a full 24,000 TEUs vessel, represent a value on the water, the hull plus the cargo, of nearly $1 billion. So you are not better played safe with these big units. But in the meantime, what we saw, it is that as the situation pacified clearly for the past months on the Bab el-Mandab, and as Jeddah became really the biggest plan B in order to connect with the Persian Gulf, transit through the Bab el-Mandab picked up nicely for the past months. And even to serve Jeddah or Aqaba, the Suez Canal picked up a bit also. But another key figure to me, it is that last year, the transit lost in terms of money for the state of Egypt was close to $7 billion. We foresee around $5 billion loss for this year for Egypt. And so, of course, if you take into account this factor for a country, for a key country in the area regarding the stability, if we can talk about stability of the area, some solutions have to be found. And Egypt is looking by all means to recover its shares.
Thank you for this first answer to where we are regarding the Cape of Good Hope. The second scenario was also that there would be growing tensions worldwide. So we were writing that end of December. We have seen the results. So we were not expecting the US to attack Iran directly. But we were expecting tensions, and it happened on the 28th of February with this attack. We will not talk about it directly, Jérôme, because we will wait the next slide to see the impact on the rates. But here, this is clearly the scenario that has been activated. And the third scenario that here is not yet activated and might be, is that a return to regulated freight rates could be one of the things that might happen. This has not been the case yet, but we will see later on the webinar that maybe this is also something that might happen, and you will explain us the reason why. But let's focus now on the rates and what happened on the market. I used the first one here with a view between Asia to Europe. This is a view here for FAK rates with a validity of 1 to 2 months between Shanghai to Rotterdam. We clearly see here a big spike over the past weeks and months. I have one question to try to start the discussion on that with you, Jérôme, is that we can see in many places, this is written a bit everywhere, that there is no, the container carriers, the container ships are not blocked by the Hormuz, in the Hormuz situation. This is mainly linked with the oil transit. So why do we see this kind of impact in the Asia-Europe trade lane? And as a teaser also, this is almost the same for the Trans-Pacific. So can you highlight us a bit on these two trade lanes?
Yeah, of course. When the closure of the Hormuz Strait happened, first reactions from analysts was just to look at the data and to look at the figures. And on the container business, they said, okay, we are talking about 4% of the global activity worldwide. No big deal. But if you look deeper to what is happening in terms of container flows in the Persian Gulf, you see that all the Persian Gulf countries are, and mostly Jebel Ali and Dubai, Jebel Ali, in terms of containers, is ranking between 9 and 10th busiest port in terms of container activity. This is mostly due to transshipment. Jebel Ali in the scorecard was really the big transshipment hub between, in the setup of the carriers, between Asia and Europe. And this is something which is challenged by the war. And even if we can, and we all expect and hope, back to normal situation, Jebel Ali may in the future years may lose ground in terms of ability to be the big transshipment hub that it was in the recent years. So it's a very serious concern. And so the impact, to answer to your question, the impact of the closure of the Persian Gulf has been bigger than expected on shipping lines. Don't forget that around 160 vessels were blocked, were trapped. Container vessels were trapped during the situation. Now it's improving a bit. But it created a big mess also in terms of finding some new transshipment options for the carriers. Should be in Eastern Africa, should be in India, should be in Pakistan. On the northern area, we saw also a big boost on Mersin in Turkey for the Iraqi markets. So shipping has always adapted very quickly, found downgraded solutions, but found some solutions to still connect with the Persian Gulf countries. But it had an impact, of course, on the shipping lines, and mostly on two factors: war risk insurance, first factor, and second factor, of course, was bunker, was fuel. Not that long ago, 1 month ago, a ton of VLSFO was over $1,000 per ton, when the average price below the crisis was around 650 to 600 US dollars. So this means that in a very recent past, all the shipping lines had to bear very strong additional costs.
Yeah, and we see that clearly in the data regarding the war and the risk insurance that is increasing. The bunker surcharge clearly also has an impact over the past weeks and months. Let's see if it's getting back to normal with the price of oil that is decreasing. But with the current situation, it seems that it can go in either ways quite quickly. Thank you for that comment, Jérôme, regarding the Trans-Pacific and the Transatlantic and the Asia-Europe corridor. Just a snapshot also on a lower trade lane, let's say, but still the Transatlantic. Here, I took the rates from Anvers to New York. This is by, let's say, by structure, by conception, a trade lane that is less volatile. Still, we have an impact here. Is it linked also with bunker-adjusted surcharges? Or?
Yes, definitely. No war risk on transatlantic so far. Even if, and it is something we learned from first half, that there was no sea without risks at the global level. We have seen some shadow fleet tanker chase in the North Atlantic from Venezuela coast up to Scotland. We have seen some attacks in the Mediterranean. So, I mean, danger is everywhere, and we can't talk about normality anymore on the seas. That's the reason why there is a heavy trend today to try to secure more the shippers' cargo, to navigate more and more on open seas, with a huge impact on the ton mile, with a huge impact on the lead times. And this is one of the key reasons also of the current front-loading that we can see on the market, creating this FAK rate surge. So, of course, for the BCO, for the contracted cargo that has been contracted before the beginning of the war, I think that shippers are in a safer situation today, and thanks for them. They did good. And by the way, it's showing that being protected by a long-term contract at the end of the day, even if the contract is reopened and rediscussed during the year, is still a good coverage. But yes, that's where we stand. That's where we stand today. Heavy front loading because, well, inventory were quite low. And there is something which is very little discussed and which is on Asia, Europe, and which is interesting. It is that in the meantime, we had this cargo rush, mostly due to the retailers who wanted to have better inventories in order to face more potential risk in the months to come, clearly. There is another factor, very little discussed. It is the car business, because, and mostly the EV business from China to Europe, there is not enough space available on car carriers. There is not enough car carriers available. And what we are looking is that more and more new Chinese cars are sent to Europe in containers. So as this new phenomenon happened in the same sequence of time, in the same time frame, it gets more strength to the cargo rush and a bigger push from the demand side.
Yeah. Thank you, Jérôme, for these comments. We have a lot of discussion in the chat. I was looking at it regarding the peak season surcharges also that are in place both in Trans-Pacific and Asia to Europe corridor, if I'm not mistaken. And and people are asking also, how does everyone manage? So this is a global question, and some answer also already. But what is how the discussion is going between shippers and carriers or freight forwarders regarding the implementation of this additional surcharge? Is it something in contract? Is it negotiations? Some in the chat are saying we try to negotiate. Sometimes it's not easy to do, and sometimes it's just imposed. Do you have a comment on that, Jérôme?
Yeah, I think that we have to cool down a bit because we are just in the midst of the storm. And most analysts are expecting this crazy haze to slow down soon now, by mid-July, okay? So it is a heat wave in a way. But this heat wave is already nearly coming to an end. Let's say for second half of July. But in terms of rate, I expect the demand to cool down in August and rates to react downwards, FAK rates to react downwards at this time. Not as low as long-term contracted rate, but a cool down effect is expected on rates quite boldly by the experts now and the community and even the carriers as per August. So let's consider it just as a very early peak season because massive front loading was decided and because more lead time, more ton mile, more risk make the decision making from the shippers earlier than usual, particularly for the Christmas campaign. But I think even if there was the story about the cars in 40 footers, which is not a little story. We may expect things to cool down a bit end of July.
Yeah, it was indeed an early peak season, and we can see that also from the data and from the bookings that were very early in this year, maybe also linked with the uncertainty of the current market, the transit time that are growing and growing. And one question also that is on the market, I mean, every time we see a shipper or discussing with the freight forwarders, is the question of overcapacity. If you're asking the question to the shipping lanes, they say, no, there is no other overcapacity, everything is okay. If you're asking it to the shippers, they say, how can you don't have overcapacity when we look at this data here, where we see more and more new boats, new coming and quite big one. So do you have a comment on that part?
Yeah, very clearly. Our buddy at Alphaliner gave to the market a very interesting figure of 38% in terms of TEU capacity. 38% of the current fleet is either under construction or on order. That means that at time of talking, we are already in an overcapacity situation, partially buffered by the Cape of Good Hope prolongated route. But of course, there is huge capacity to come more. And in the meantime, the scrap rate is historically low. It's picking up a bit now, but we are scrapping nearly between 2 and 4% of the fleet per year. So basically, we can say we are not scrapping, shipping lines are not scrapping enough. And why they are not scrapping enough? Because there is still a very strong market for chartering or for second-hand vessels. And even older vessels, we have seen some very, very strong figures for sales of vessels between 22, 23, even over 25 years old. In a recent past, a vessel over 25 years old was considered mostly as scrap value. This is not the case today. And don't forget that there is a huge competition between the shipping lines. We often say it's a very concentrated market. It's true. It's true. It's a very concentrated market with the top guys covering 84% of the capacity. But there is a real competition, believe me, between all these guys. And last year, we have seen that MSC was leading the pack and was clearly the market trendsetter. And it appears that it is going to be vastly the same this year. So it's a race, and it's a very competitive rate. But for the shippers, also bear in mind, because it is not blah, 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 that the operating cost of the carrier had picked up a lot for the past months. So in a way, we can see a kind of normality in rates hikes, but maybe not, and I may agree with a lot of people around the table, maybe not as the current fever that we experience on the FAK rates. But fever is not yet, not there to last.
Thank you, Jérôme. We will go now on the second part of the webinar. We talk already a lot of the things to come. Just a small comment before that, sorry. You can have directly access also to, we're publishing a monthly container shipping barometer with all the rates that we have at Upply. If you scan the QR code that you see here on your screen, you will be able to subscribe to receive the next one, or you can click also on the pop-up that Mathilde just put. The next part is going in more details about the scenarios and try to update it. We will be quite quick on the different scenarios because we have talked a lot with Jérôme on that. But the idea is coming from these three scenarios here, the three scenarios that we published at the beginning of the year, and try to see what are the projections for the second semesters. So let's start with the Suez or Cape of Good Hope. You already talk about it.
Yeah.
Finally, Jérôme, regarding weak demand that we have, and that today we have demand, but it's a kind of a peak, and that it should be slowing down in August. The risk of overcapacities. So, what is clearly your conclusion on that? Still, Cape of Good Hope as the first scenario, for the first solution, let's say.
For time being, yes, Thomas. Clearly, maybe there is some, in case we have a safer approach to the Gulf and the Bab el Mandab area, maybe we will see more vessels picking up through the Red Sea. In my opinion, for the Q4. But for Q3, I think that the setup is well installed through what we call the Cape of Good Hope motorway. When you see Kepler marine traffic, you see this V shape of green vessels, which is completely everywhere. I mean, you can't miss it. So it's a new normal, this V-shaped route, which is a nonsense at the end of the day, in terms of environment, in terms of ton mile. But, and it is something also important to notice, it is also a nonsense for shipping lines, because shipping lines rely on turnaround. And if you focus on Asia, Europe, a normal turnaround rate for a rotation is 4.2, 4.3 per year. Today, with the Cape via Suez, today with the Cape of Good Hope, shipping lines manage to do 3.2 rotation per year. So at the end of the day, it is a loss, because 1 year is 1 year. 365 days, that doesn't change. So have a longer turnaround. Of course, it impacts your cargo for you as shippers, but also you can understand very easily that for the shipping lines, it is less product and less money in the same time frame. And so at the end of the day, it's not a very, very good option for them, either in terms of finance, because it is too slow. And it is too slow for your cargo to come full, and it is too slow to send back empties in China and in Asia. All the question regarding speed, all the question regarding speed is a hot topic. And if security is there, if safety is there, if what a lot of if, I agree. But it is, in my opinion, it is false to say, well, there is overcapacity, so the shipping lines, they just rely on the longer route because it is good for their business. Yes, but no. In a way, it is true, but if this logic is going too far, it is very negative for them, because they can't do the business they plan. So focus on the turnaround rates. It's quite important.
Yeah. And
so in addition to that, so basically the big scenario is no change for second half, but we may see some demand picking up and some players picking up transit through the Red Sea if safety standards are strong enough. But I don't foresee it massively for the bigger vessels. The 18 to 24,000 section vessels, in my personal opinion, they will stick to the Cape route for quite a long period of time, because, as we said, there is too much money and on play. So, but they came back through the Red Sea of vessels in the 8,000 TEU range to 14, 15,000 TEU range. Yes, we may see figures picking up by Q4 if we manage to pacify the situation in the Gulf. So clearly, we have to bear in mind that it may be the interest also of the shipping lines to come back to Suez at a certain point, at a certain time.
Also that we have in
yes, we see. Sorry, Thomas.
No, it's okay. I have a connection cut also. For 1 second, we see a lot of comments in the chats that are going in your direction. First, regarding the fact that indeed it's not in the interest of the shipping lanes to go through the Cape of Good Hope if the prices are low, but because they are high, it's kind of a balanced situation where it might be in their favor. But if the prices are going down or close to the costs really of a transport, here there is no sense. I mean, you just have a longer way to do it, and so you can lose profits. So this is really a trade-off and a quite unbalanced situation that can shift quite quickly. And our view and your view indeed is that it will not change for the second part of the year because of the current situation. But I mean, many things can happen on that. And to go in the second scenario also is the projection regarding the increasing tension worldwide. So we talk about the war in Iran, that's where discussions, peace discussions are still going on because Mr. Trump signed a paper, but discussions are going on right now and still going on. So it can continue. There are a lot of hot spots, let's say, a bit everywhere in the world in terms of military, but also in terms of trade wars. So yeah, can you try to highlight a bit more on what you put in our paper on this topic, please?
Of course, I will not over discuss military topics because it's not our direct business. But of course, everyone knows that the situation is really complicated, and the way out to the Hormuz crisis is vastly complicated. We have seen in the past days 2 vessels attacked a crude carrier, the MV Kiku, and also a vessel from Evergreen, who were transiting through the Omani waters, through the southern corridor. War, if we are focusing a bit on the topic of the Gulf, latest reports are showing that there is at least 80 mines in the TSS. The TSS is the central canal of the Strait of Hormuz, which was broadly used before the war. And today, regarding the canal, the Strait, we have these 2 options: the southern Omani route or the northern Omani route through Iraq. And in my opinion, the Iranians want really to keep the full control of the Strait. So the story about fees or not fees to be paid because it's against the law of the seas, blah, blah, and so on. Well, I mean, the wording in English is innocent passage, but sorry for that, but in shipping there is nothing innocent, never. So at the end of the day, we may finish with something to pay to go through the transit. I think seriously that we have to get prepared to that, particularly for the tankers. Maybe not for the general cargo, maybe not for the containers, maybe who will get an exemption, but for the tanker business and for the gas business, I think that by a way or another, there will be something to pay and to consider in the future. So effectively, you are talking about military wars, but there is also this famous economical war between blocs now. And I will summarize it with the 2 R's. The 2 R's, not R, not R for Rolls-Royce. R for regulation and retaliation. And regulation and retaliation is something new we experience in the so-called free world of shipping. And it's changing the game completely. And because, for example, you heard maybe latest development about tariffs in the US. So we may foresee, and it is also a reason to explain the very high spike of FAK rates on the Trans-Pacific these days. It is that shippers in the US and retailers in the US are expecting more to come in terms of tariffs by the end of the year. And it is also a reason pushing for front loadings. So it's so unstable, it is changing every day, and it's very difficult to adapt. And of course, it creates tension on market, tension on rate, and unexpected movements from a way and another. And this reasons, I will jump on to the second chapter. What we learned from the past, from the recent past, it is that strait and canals are targets, targets, and in today's environment, there are some weak points related to that. Should be for climate reasons. You have heard that things are getting complicated with the Panama Canal due to water restriction, anticipated water restrictions due to a new El Nino phenomenon. So threats, and of course, when you are the decision maker and you are responsible for moving cargo, you have to think about these things.
Yeah, thank you, Jérôme, for that. I will. I see that we have two questions. I will just keep them for the end, meaning just after the next slide. We will see now scenario 3 that is that didn't happen yet. A temporary return to the regulated freight rates.
Let's come back to my RR, to my Rolls-Royce, my retaliation regulation. Mostly from China and mostly from the US. And what we see clearly for 1 year now, a bit more than 1 year, it is a very strong involvement in those huge countries to regulate more. So in front of that, that means that Europe has to react. And Europe is the biggest market worldwide in terms of volumes and in terms of money. So it's a big cake. It's a big part of the cake, Europe. And of course, why should we be weak if in front of us we have some players who play between brackets hardballs every day and every day a little bit more in terms of rules, in terms of tariffs, in terms of control of the flows. So, of course, we have to wake up because we are the biggest market, but we, in terms of shipping lines activity, in the top 10, when you look at the top 10, we have seen a few minutes ago, you have seen that there is a lot of European names and big names. And these are strong European assets, more and more related to sovereignty aspects, as we've seen it recently and more every day. And so if there is a downturn of the market, if there is a huge collapse of the market, it will be catastrophical for the shipping lines, for the big VOCCs. And what we could foresee, and the idea of this scenario, is to temporarily add some stability because these industries are very capitalistic, are long-term industries. When you decide to build a vessel, it is at least for a 25 years period of time. So it's not a quick, you go in, you go out. It's a heavy capitalistic industry. And we were very happy, of course, when this European-related industry is doing well in terms of economy and finance. But history also told us, come back in 2008 during Lehman Brothers or other periods like that, in 2019, which was a very bad year for the shipping lines, it can go very fast in a direction and in another. And so the idea is to provide, due to the uncertainties, a safety net for our industry. And regulated rates should be a safety net in order to secure revenue and to secure finance of these big activities in this very troublesome world. And to me, it's quite legitimate to have this approach because the others are playing badly. So why should we be the nice guys and lose everything? So in order to protect ourselves on a temporary basis, to reinstall CBR, CBR is commodity box rates. What does it mean? It means that on a trade lane, there is, for example, for dry cargo, 10 different rates. And the lowest value cargo pays a smaller freight rate, and the higher value cargo, it's a kind of ad valorem system of tariff. And freezing for 1 or 2 years the freight rates at acceptable level, taking in account the cost structure of the operators and taking in account the rates for the shippers, even for the shippers, it can be good also to have, let's say, a bubble of 2 years of stability on the budget.
To have visibility for the budget and for the supply.
Yeah. But the issue with this, so basically it is to come back on temporary basis to a conference model that was finished in Europe in 2008, a temporary comeback to the system in order to get stability. We are in such unstable world that and to protect our European assets. So to me, it's a bit provocative behind the scene, but it is also, wow, hey guys, they are not nice with you, they are not nice with us, we have to fight. The happy globalization is over, it's behind us, so we have to adapt because should be look at the West or look at the East, we have not a lot of friendly friends anymore.
Yes,
so
indeed. But the question of sovereignty and the question of how to have visibility for shippers, I mean, for the economy globally, and how to play against these blocks, economic blocks that are putting together right now. It's an important point indeed. This will be the last point regarding the 3 scenarios. Thank you, Jérôme, for that. We will. I have a lot of questions. I will take the first one, and also, sorry, before that, all the scenarios that you have seen here, you can directly download via the QR code or the link that Mathilde just posted, the white paper that is directly a view on the scenarios to come for the second part on 2026. This is a more detailed analysis that Jérôme is just share with us.
It is the full story. It is a full 12-page full story.
Exactly, full story about 12 pages report. You will receive it anyway with all the materials from this webinar. But if you want to have it directly, you just have to scan this QR code or click on the link. You will receive the white paper, the PDF. Let's take some questions. I will try, Jérôme, to answer to the first one, and you correct me if I'm mistaken. This is directly linked with how much additional lead time is Cape of Good Hope versus the Suez Canal and the cost per vessel, if I'm not mistaken. So Suez Canal is a transit time about 28, or was a transit time between 30 and 32, 33 days. Cape of Good Hope is more about 42, 50, 55 days right now.
Yes, and even more if you go to the West Med, because you have also to re-enter through Gibraltar Strait. So it can peak to 60, 65 for the Med.
Okay.
So
you have at least
these are
additional days of 10 to 15 days, and if you are going to South Mediterranean, is even higher than that. And if we look at it from a cost perspective, I remember some figures that were about 1,000 additional cost dollars per TU, or for 40 GP, I think. We are still in the same area.
No, to be very honest, yes, you have in terms of mass and in terms of parameter in your calculation, what was costing an extra cost to go through the Cape of Good Hope route at $1,000 per 40, it was at the beginning. But with the fine tuning of the organization, this extra cost went down to $400 now.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Indeed, the impact at the beginning was plus 800. It spiked at plus 1,000 per container. And so now you're saying that it's going down to for about 400.
Yeah, particularly just right now that spot price for fuel for bunker is decreasing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We have additional questions regarding due to major shifts, some terminals in West and North Europe are closed temporarily. What do we expect there? It's a bit specific questions, but do we see terminals that are closing? And there is also questions regarding a possible blockage or a jam regarding driver and hauling shortage. Sorry. So two questions in one, but.
Yeah, no, but it's a big concern, and you are right. It was my mistake not to talk about that. Port congestion in Northern Europe and social climate in Northern Europe, particularly in Benelux, is poor these days. It's true, and there is ongoing negotiations with the docker workers and with the people to work, but also there is some very, very big demand to absorb with vessels which are not in their windows. So, I mean, and it is directly a mess that was created by the closure of Hormuz. Indirect mess cascading in Europe, because it is true that the closure of Hormuz impacted services between Asia and Europe. Plus the fact that also they had to slow down because the fuel was so expensive. So it added even more longer lead times when the price of the VLSFO was over $1,000 a ton, meaning that there was some cargo, there was some big ship movings, they were not in their windows, plus work, dock workers and social issues on the terminals. And that creates the current confusion that we experience in northern ports. Hopefully in France, we are safe for time being. Volumes are picking up nicely on French ports, but for the big guys like Hamburg, like Rotterdam, like Antwerpen, it is difficult to cope with. And it should be even more difficult if there is a sudden comeback through the Red Sea and through the Suez Canal. It could be an horrific scenario to get a cargo rush in front of the big northern ports. Maybe in what we experienced, I don't know if you remember a few years ago in the San Pedro Bay, area where there were some vessels queuing for discharge at Los Angeles and Long Beach, and sometimes for weeks. So I think that it is a very important point. That supply chain managers have also to deal with, and that means that on continental basis and on rerouting flow on continental basis, it is something to enter into the parameter of the equation. Yeah, maybe to consider other port of discharge to secure a bit your flows, maybe a little bit more indirect port of discharge than going to the big mammoths, the usual big mammoths as Antwerpen and Rotterdam.
Great. Thank you for that, Jérôme. I see we will take just one additional question to buckle up this webinar. So this is a specific question. I will ask it to you, Jérôme. Let's see if you have the answer from Thierry. Is it true that some shipments lane transfer big cargo of 20,000 TEUs to Africa from North Sea Europe, and they replace it with a cargo of 15,000? A shift from, let me see if I had it right. Do you see the question or not, Jérôme?
Well, yeah, basically, I think I understand, but I don't know, to be very honest, the answer to this question. What I can say, it is that clearly today there is an idea that you will not risk the bigger vessels outside open seas. And so that means that you have to reshape the hubs of tomorrow's for the 24,000 TEUs. That's the reason why we see big light on Mombasa and on Kenya. That may be a contender and that may replace Jebel Ali in years to come. Basically, it's the idea. We have seen the huge success of Tangiers, and it's not finished with all the upgrades which are decided in Morocco. We have seen the very strong interest for the deepwater terminal in Lomé, in Togo. We have seen all the Chinese investment in Shanghai, in Peru, when we are still expecting a new president to come, the Keiko Fujimori story, very related with China. This is very important to see that big vessels on open seas, in huge open seas terminals, with bigger hubs, bigger spokes, and a use of more what we use. When we were talking about a feeder in Europe, we were talking about 2,000 vessel, 2,000 TEU vessel, not that long time ago, 2,000 to 4,000 TEU vessel. And I think that we are going in a world when the feeder will grow far bigger, up to 10,000, 12,000 TEUs. And these new open sea deep water hubs may be the new hubs of tomorrow to compensate what we experience today and what we are used to between Asia and Europe, for example. So this is something to follow in terms of dynamics. So impact is not very good on ton mile. That's a constraint. But from an operational perspective, in order to get a free modelization and in order to get less risks to manage, this is something to follow definitely for me.
Okay. Yeah, because this is additional capacities that can be missing on a specific trade lanes, and so can have an impact directly on then the prices and just the available capacities. Thank you, Jérôme. I think we will end on that right on time. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you for all your questions. Although it was very interesting. More than 400 people connected to this webinar. That's huge. That's very great. You will receive all the materials once again, the slides, the recording, also the white paper that has been written by Jérôme regarding the scenarios for the next semester to come. I will just end by wishing you a very nice day and talk to you soon for our next webinar on ocean shipping. Thank you very much, Jérôme.
And yes, and don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn and tag, like, share as usual. And have a nice day to you all.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.